Well, now we're going to go back and have Martin Bretville come on for a few minutes. Martin told me that there's one photo that he did not show when he was doing the body detail that he'd like to show us. And so I suggested, well, why don't you do it tonight while it's still fresh in everybody's mind about the AB brake system. So Martin, welcome and thank you.
Thanks, Jim. I think it's going to be closer to 11 photos, but
Oh, okay.
It's called inflation. It happens. Yeah, this is part 2.5 since I wasn't planning on making a part 3, so we got a part 2.5. The basic AB brake system, which is not going to have just the AB brake system. And we're going to wander around a little bit, but that's sort of where we were. It's the basic diagram. It's a rehash of that. Just keep that fresh in your head, but that's the basic diagram. And there's all kinds of variations on the theme. And well, I want to point out one thing here about all these. Every one of these, the levers and rods and clevises and such, all the connections are above the center sill. The train line's going through the center sill, but everything else is above the center sill. That actually is fairly easy. Everything's right on top where you can get to it. It may be stacked up in layers, but it's all on top of the center sill. That's called foreshadowing. Okay, this is our victim from last week. There's the finished version of it. It's got a coat of paint on it. It's actually got decals and paint and all kinds of stuff on it. The car is done, actually. The white stuff is just dust. It accumulates fast in my shop if you don't watch what you're doing. But yeah, so you can see everything's above or on, right on the center sill. Not all cars work that way. So, it's straightforward when it's above. What about when the linkages are running through the center sill? You've got all your connections are buried in it. The solid center sill, that's a lot of fun, but it's hollow one, it's a lot more entertaining. So I had this resin kit. This is one of Ted Schnepp's O-scale kit cars. It was lingering on the box in the hallway on the shelf of doom, for lack of a better phrase. And this one, you look at the instructions, it actually has these parts aren't sitting up here. They're inside through holes cut in the center sill. So before you put the car together, this is really the best time to do this, because once you have the car side, it is a gondola, but once the side, it's a fish belly side, it's kind of hard to drill holes in here. The side of the car is in the way. So there's a time and a place for doing this. The time and the place is now, before you get the car fully assembled. And this is where it gets a little tricky. What do you do first here? Well, in my case, what I do first is I put that brake cylinder where I think it's going to belong, and make all the rest of the measurements off the height of that brake cylinder. Where this comes out of the brake cylinder defines where this lever has to go through this center sill, where this hole has to be drilled to connect to the brake line, which then drives where this hole is for the end of this lever to sit, and a hole here for the lever to rock back and forth through. Lots of fun. So this is where you get out I'm actually using a small battery-powered hand drill and just drilling holes through it. I mark it, drill holes through it, carve it down a little bit with a scalpel blade, test fit, slide this in here. So there's a little hole at the bottom underneath this cylinder casting. It drops in, but as you drop it in, you're sliding this pre-assembled lever attached to this clevis through the hole. So there's 3 or 4, it took about 5 tries before I got close to where I was happy with it. Glue it all in place. Then you've got a hole drilled over here for the linkage to the brake. Here's a hole drilled linkage to the brake wheel. Then you have the fun of putting this lever in It doesn't come all the way through. It sits right in the resin on this side, but you have to put this rod in here with this connection on it and slide this through, catch the clevis. And once you get it where you want it, you don't hesitate and put a drop of CA on it right away, because the odds are if you let go of it, it's going to fall out. So capture it when you can and keep going. Another hole drilled here. So there's lots of holes drilled. You know, little cavities cut out, and of course we have 2 more pieces of the brake system to put in, which make it even more fun. So you add the triple valve and the air reservoir. Okay, so they have to get mounted. Another little bit of styrene here, some styrene over here to hold it where it belongs. You have to think about how high this is going to go. Remember, there's 4 holes here. One hole, this one side hole goes all the way over to the brake cylinder. That's probably the easiest one. But the real problem is you've got to connect your air cylinder through 2 holes, through 2 holes, into the bottom 2 holes of the triple valve. So I actually set this up, pre-assembled the air reservoir with the brass wires, with phosphor bronze wires, actually 20,000s, with the wires glued into it already, slide those through and capture it with the triple valve on the other side. So you're sliding this through, getting these 2 wires through the hole, getting them into the 2 holes in the triple valve, and dropping the triple valve into place and gluing it in place. And you only have 2 hands, which makes it a little exciting, but I can assure you it's doable. I've done it several times. I guarantee you it may induce colorful language and strong drink, but rest assured, I know you can do it. It does take a few bend, twist, test fit, bend, repeat until you get it right. That's, you know, you're pre-drilling the castings. Be careful pre-drilling castings. It's white metal in this case. Take it easy, use the right size drill, hold it carefully, do not drill your finger. I will tell you firsthand, it hurts when you run a 28 thousandths hole into your finger. You will, I guarantee, colorful language. And if you're pain resistant, you don't drop the casting when you do it. It's very important, because if you drop the casting, you probably never find it again. They have a way of just flying through the air and being elusive. Okay, so it's a little easier when you get to build up the underbody framing. This is a Des Plaines kit, which I got, and it was missing the underbody parts. So you just make some. It's just styrene. Look at the diagram, you know where they go. You make your own center sill, run some brass wire through it. For your train line, that makes it fairly straightforward, since you're going to have to drill holes through the sills, the bolster, through the sills at an angle, and then you can just drill holes these and thread them through the wire as you assemble it. So it's a lot easier, I think it's a lot easier at least, to put all these parts in place as you build, as opposed to trying to retrofit it after it's all assembled. I don't have drills that are work at right angles very well. Okay, this is not the AB system, it's the old split cave system. Those are actually my resin castings. I made my own levers, but again, this one rides across the top, but everything's a little more complicated because you have to connect these dots together, get all these things in place. It works out okay. And it works very much like the same old K-brake. But this is one of those situations where you can't use the complete K-brake because there's not enough room here. The distance between here doesn't work. But this is all styrene, so you can just glue it together with some methylene chloride or Tenax or whatever your plastic cement is of choice, solvent cement. Again, making this connection, though, is a little tricky because this comes out, comes up, goes across, goes under the brake rod, comes across, makes a right angle turn, goes in the back of the cylinder. Again, you fabricate this, bend, test, bend, test, bend, test, bend, test, drop it on the floor, lose it, start over, bend, test, bend, test. Second time you do it, you don't drop it on the floor and you get one that fits. Get it into the 2 holes, grab the bottle of CA, put a drop on each end, take a deep breath, you got it. And that's where we're going to stop.